Well, hello, everyone. As you know, I'm Ed Parcaut, the host of Real Estate Jerky radio show and the live that's on, I don't know, everywhere you can do lives except for TikTok and Instagram, I guess. Today, I basically received an email this morning from our producer. I guess he would be our engineer at a radio show that we do and we put on. And the email stated an article regarding California exodus is a myth. Massive UC research project finds that out. And so I decided to do a little live about it today because I thought, you know, I don't believe it myself. Here's the article. It's from San Francisco Gate. It talks about that. Let me get over to there. That this whole thing that's happening in California is a myth, and we're not. It's really not. People are not really leaving California. And so I was looking through it, and I saw that. Oh, look! I can actually go directly to. So let's get rid of this. The article that talks about the UC studies, and basically, if you go through this study that they did. We lost a congressional seat, supposedly first time in history. Who cares? But basically what the key finds of this study is that majority of Californians believe that California dream is still alive. The residents are moving out of state, but not at unusual rates. I'll get to that in a minute. And there's no evidence of millionaire flight from California. Well, I know a couple of them. Rogan's one of them. California economy attracts as much venture capital as all other states. Well, that might be the case, but it might not be that way forever. And we need to really address this. So one of the things I wanted to bring in today about this whole thing is what really it's about. What do you think? Do you think this is true? Is this about it's not about what I think, but I talk on the radio every week and I have a little opinionated things about this, but I think we are losing people. We are losing more Californians than we think. But basically what this article is stating from UC is Texas and all the places who've been getting Californians, don't worry, you're not going to get any more. There's no more people leaving. They were stating that, in fact, only, let me get over to you over there. Sorry about that, people. They're saying that 23% of voters said that they're seriously considering leaving the state, which is lower than 24% the same period in 2019. So if you figure that's 24 in every 100, that's 240 in every 1,000. 10, you can add the zero and keep going. So if we have 40 million people in California, they're telling me that 10 million people are thinking about leaving California right now. Still, to this point, they're still thinking about leaving. I think one of the biggest issues you're going to run into is when people are leaving California. And we had this earlier this week on our live on Tuesday about the one thing you have to worry about is what's going on when you move there. You have to worry about other things than just leaving. And let me go through that go back over here. And it says, that's the thing all right. So 2-1 margin, California's response say they still believe that California is the place to live. And we won't get into the social economics and the different things. However, the big thing I see is right here. Middle class Californians making incomes between 50,000 to 100,000 are more concerned about the California and are leaving. And that's what we see. The affordability of California is getting to a point where most people can't afford to actually buy a house here. Even though we're more affordable to this day in California than we were before, and I can pull up that chart that shows because interest rates are so low, even though prices went up, we're more affordable today than we've ever been. Because back in 2008, rates were in the 5 to 6%, and houses were 300,000 to 400,000 up to 500,000, and less people could afford at that time. More people can afford now. If you also look at over here, you're saying, I won't get into the Democratic politicians right now, but the growth is not the goal for most Californians. Basically, we don't want they're saying that Californians don't want our state to grow anymore. We want it to grow. Most people want to stay where it is or grow less. I think that's the way it is with a lot of states. People don't want it to grow any more than it has, but we have to. That's just how population growth works. So let's get to over here. And I'm sorry if I'm kind of all over the place today. It is Friday. What do you want from me? I usually don't do lives on Friday. I think I think the biggest thing that I see right here is the younger Americans, right? 25 to 39 are moving around at a roughly double that of middle age or older people. And in what we just did through the refinance boom we did over the last 2 years is we put a lot of people in very low interest rates to a point where they're probably more likely not to move or think about moving in the next 4 to 5 years or 10 years, because once rates start going up, they're just to have the same house with a higher rate, their payment's going to go up. So most people are just going to be stuck in their house because of where the rates are, and they don't want their payments to go up. If you look at the actual moving, they're also saying the number of older Americans 60 plus moving into California has fallen because they can't afford it. It's just, their income is where it's at, and the appreciation of California has grown so much that people, and that you're seeing more of them people I mean, that age group moving out of California and other places for retirement because it's cheaper. And that's when we had that show on Tuesday about things you need to know and why people are moving. I'm just bringing this up and talking about this real shortly here. They're talking about the destinations here in Texas, Washington, where most younger people are going. And then the older people are looking in Nevada and Arizona. That's just because it's cheaper and they're less taxes. And that's just why they're looking there. They're also talking about that most foreign-born people come to California but go somewhere else afterwards. My biggest thing here is you got to stop listening to, I don't want to knock newspapers, but basically the whole purpose of doing any of this kind of stuff is to sell papers and get people scared or change the way that they want you to think the way they think. If you look, a couple more things, and I'll get into that point in a second. So basically, there's no evidence that wealthy households are leaving the state in large numbers. Approximately 2/3 of people who moved out of San Francisco remained within 11 county barrier. So they moved out of San Francisco, but they stayed around there a lot closer. And we're seeing that too. We've seen that a lot. And they're also talking about counties in Sierra Nevada mountains, Northern California, Central Valley, those kind of places. We're going to see more growth from that. And that's what we've already seen. California share of, so we already talked about this, but I think that one of the issues that I have with this statement and why I wanted to do this live today about California exodus isn't really happening is, let me get over to this page. There we are. Where is it? Sorry about this. Drop that down. Is this, and I brought this up on my show on the radio and other times in the past, how to lie with statistics. And basically what these people are doing is making up these things saying that, don't worry, no one's leaving California. There's not a mass exodus. This is what we've shown over the last 2 years. That's not what we're seeing. If you know 10 people, do you know 2.5 people who left the state? Or if you know 100 people, do you know I myself know out of 10 people, I know 2.5 people who've left the state of California. I'm not saying it's a mass exodus. I'm saying we're only, if you look at our separation is about 100,000 people net that we're losing from the amount of people coming in. That is fine. We're not going to have a problem. However, what I do know is we need to work on the affordability factor of California and the properties. So we need to build more properties. We need to get more regulations out of the way of us actually working on. So let me go back here. Less regulations on actually, so we can build more properties. We brought this up earlier this week on the radio show, how other states are starting to run in some of this too. They're running out of land. They're running into where it's more expensive to build. That's across the country. So basically what I wanted to get at for today is, don't always listen to what is put out there on the newspaper, and then definitely not on the TV when it comes to home affordability and what's happening with the net exodus or what's going on. If you want to know what's going on, talk to a local person, what's going on in that market, call them up, ask them, what are you seeing? If you are going to move out of state, the only thing I want you to, for most people, I tell people, go stay there at the worst time of the year. Right? If you're going to move to Texas, go there during the summer. Make sure you go deal with the humidity and the heat. If you're going to move to some place that snows a lot, go there during the winter. Make sure you can deal with the snow, because there's nothing worse than moving out of California or moving somewhere else and not being able to move back because you just lost out on the appreciation. And that's basically all I wanted to get to today. I don't want to take too much of your time on a Friday. I just wanted to say this is articles out there. Don't listen to all of it. Just take a little bit from it and move on. And again, thank you for joining me today, and you have a great Friday.